Super Senpai Podcast. Welcome to the Super Senpai Podcast. This is a weekly episodic tokusatsu-related podcast where we're hecka excited about mecha. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant. And with us this evening is a friend of mine, friend of the podcast. You know him from so many other shows, but please welcome to the show Doctor from the SSA podcast, from the Gintama podcast, and so many others.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me on your show. This feels nice to actually be on a podcast that I don't have to edit.
This is our service to you.
Yeah. I mean, you were on my show once at least.
Yeah, no, that's part of it too. I mean, definitely having you or being on your shows has been a lot of fun. I've been on multiple times, and I've been wanting to have you on. With this weekly format, it's a little bit easier to have all my internet friends on, but particularly because finding out you're also a Toku head, it was important to have you on. So thanks for being here, Doc.
Oh, yeah. Glad to actually be a part of this. It's been really fun listening to you guys.
Really appreciate hearing you say that.
We do it for the fan.
Nobody listens to the show, actually, it turns out.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. No.
Rats.
You guys have been doing a very good job. I've been enjoying the show on the week-to-week basis. It's nice to actually listen to a Tokusatsu podcast every once in a while.
Yeah. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, there aren't too many out there, but I think we've got a swarm of new ones popping up. I want to say there's at least 2 or 3 others that I know of that have popped up recently, and a couple others I know that are like coming back, like Toku Ladies Pod and stuff. So I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, I technically have one too.
Yeah. How many shows did you tell me you had again? I want to say it was double digits. Okay,
it's the Asperger's Enemy podcast, which is the main show, and then spin-offs from there is Just a Gintama podcast, One Podcast Prevails, which is a talking about Detective Conan or Case Closed, as they know over here. I had Ready Startup Change, was our Tokusatsu podcast that I had started, and I think that's mainly it right now, at least. I'm currently have like a bunch of projects that I'm working on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/SSAA network. Plug, there you go, done. I'm not gonna do it anymore. And I have a bunch of
used it up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's expired now. I have a bunch of smaller projects, reviews and stuff like that are up on there. So yeah. I'm doing a lot of things. Technically have a video game podcast we're supposed to start. I think at one point we're still supposed to do some other shows, assuming we meet like proper goals and stuff. But at least the first 3 are usually the ones I usually are on a somewhat weekly basis. So I do too much, unfortunately.
Well, we like to call ourselves the sleep hater boys around here because we also do a lot. So you're the king of no sleep.
King of no sleep.
No joke. I'm in the middle of editing an episode as we're recording.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time from your.
It's like what was the Tom Cruise film Minority Report? You're over there like moving your hands in the air, like editing and being on pods at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile, I want to be in that pool of like goo, just sleeping. Just be like, I just want to stay here, please, for the love of God.
Nope, Matt, you're just another sleep hater boy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the team.
I think we may be answering one of our questions a little too early here, but maybe that's it.
We've shown our power.
No. Okay. All right. So then before we get into it, we promised our audience and a little thank you for contributing to us, and we're gonna do our little drawing here. Thank you everybody for submitting questions, and I guess here we go.
This is the drum roll.
Looks like it's Popeye Otaku. Every fan 3417.
Yay!
That's congratulations.
Woo!
Congratulations.
You won.
We should have put
spam.
in the sound effect from Shun from Kamen Rider Forze when he does the little salute, like the ba-ding, like that little kind of like video game noise.
Oh yeah. Oh, perfect. We'll do that.
And get sued by Toei. No.
Uh-oh.
But congrats,
okay,
Troy. Thanks
not.
for sending in questions, and hope you enjoy the shirt.
Yeah. We'll reach out to you before this actually comes out, probably, and then
telepathically.
Kind of meta, I guess. A little time travel here, but make sure that we get it so that we can get it to you as soon as possible.
But yeah, so I guess on with the show then. So Doc, you know by now, we ask everybody this. Give us a little bit of your background with Tokusatsu.
Oh wow. Let's see. It's fun. It's a funny question because I ended up going down this weird rabbit hole when I was in some ways researching how I ended up becoming the person that I am now. But I think I'll TLDR as much as I can. So Power Rangers is pretty much the main thing that really got me into Tokusatsu in general, because I was in the prime age of Power Rangers at the time, growing up in the 90s. What's amazing is that I think for those of you who actually know, or at least had watched Power Rangers back then, it was normally on Fox. I lived in Miami for the majority of my life, and our Fox didn't have the Fox Kids programming block.
What?
Yeah. So, and this is like the craziest thing, because I remembered half of this stuff, and then I started looking up, and I realized, oh wow, it's actually way more ridiculous than it actually needs to be. So, because our Fox affiliate in Miami did not want to carry any children's program anymore, they wanted to like focus on news and stuff. They left that block of shows and stuff and threw it over to the WB channel, which is primarily where I was watching Power Rangers, like Mask Rider, Big Bad Beetleborgs, everything else. And that sort of also like having it on the same channel allowed me to get exposed to all the WB stuff, your Batmans, your Supermans, and what have you. So that's kind of like, it's somewhat tangentially related to my interest later on in life and with comics and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. And then eventually ended up going away because they ran out of time and they wanted to promote their WB programming, so they got rid of the Fox stuff. It got thrown into a Home Shopping Network channel affiliate.
What?
I know.
Okay.
What? I'm not kidding.
Right.
So it was on a Home Shopping Network channel, which then got restructured and bought out by what would be known as the USA Network. I think you probably see
Yeah.
Monday Night Raw is on right now, probably if we're recording this, which is also related to me because I'm a big wrestling fan as well. And all the broadcasts sort of branch, like all the air broadcast channels, it got moved to what was Channel 69, which they dubbed WAMI.
Nice.
It's weird. It's WAMI in Miami, which was a children's block. You can look it up. Yes.
Doc, can you say that one more time for me, please? I just need to hear that phrase one more time.
I am doing it with my hands. Whammy on Miami. Okay.
So this is that's the episode title. I think we got it already.
You can look it up. Go look up Whammy on Miami. You can see commercials on YouTube right now. At least now, this should still be up there. But it was all the Fox Kids programming stuff was on there. So the funny thing is that the gap was kind of perfect for me because it was on WB up until Turbo, and I know the movie came out and they showed a bit of Turbo. It got cut from WB. There was a gap, which was most of Turbo, and then it got on Whammy, which is around, I believe, Power Rangers in Space. So I was so confused. So then that happened. It was on Whammy for a while up until Time Force, and then the channel that essentially was affiliated with it, they ran out of money, so they dumped the entire channels and sold it off to Univision. So if you didn't get the accent, so imagine waking up, not waking up, probably in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I want to see some Power Rangers. Why not? And then I turn on the channel and it's a bunch of Spanish soap operas. That's the worst feeling in the world. So, and that was around the time that I was in high school. So I liked Power Rangers still at the time, but it wavered a bit. I think I was focused on wrestling. It was 2001 at the time, so that's like right there, cut off. I didn't get to see Power Rangers. And by then, I think it eventually got bought out by Disney, and that's the whole changing of there, and it showed up on ABC and Jetix and all that stuff there. But right. So all that stuff was there. I ended up going to college, and that's where I met the majority of my friends we ended up starting an anime club, which was essentially the precursor to the podcast that I run, because basically all the people in that anime club are my friends, and we just wanted a place to hang out and watch anime. And at a certain point, I'm like, why don't we just put a mic in front of us and talk about it? So that's weird origin points of that from there. But I think one of my friends there during the anime club says, "Hey, have you ever checked out Super Sentai?" At the time, I was aware of anime and I was aware of the Japanese side of things, so I never actually checked out Super Sentai in like
Mm.
the Japanese end of Tokusatsu, I was aware of it. I mean, by then I had internet, so I was at least happy with that. My friend turned me on to what was the currently running Super Sentai series at the time was Go-Go Sentai Bokenger.
Mm.
And I fell in love with it. It was goofy, very different. I was like, this is Power Rangers, but it's also kind of almost taken a little bit more seriously. It's strange. I didn't really... I was just enthralled by it, and I kept watching it, and eventually I ended up kind of going through what else was available at the time, and the other series that was running at the exact same time was Kamen Rider Kabuto.
Oh yeah, another one.
Yeah, so that show was like this like feels like a movie. It's like it's shot so differently. It's acted very differently. This is real. What's going on? What's happening? Yeah, and I think then eventually I started just following along what else was airing at the time. I looked up other stuff like Lion Murder G at one point that's a weird show. So yeah, no, and since then I've been looking at everything I could, and I've been a fan ever since. Even though there are times where I'm not always caught up with the current series that it's airing, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I might miss a show or two, but I'm usually around. It's usually in my view on my monitor in one point or another. So, yeah,
Right.
that's me.
Well, cool. So you're sort of a later convert then, but that's great. That's exciting. Interesting. All the access problems and stuff, even for Power Rangers. That's usually for most people we talk to. Once you have access to Power Rangers, it's just kind of omnipresent, and it's getting to the Japanese stuff that's the hard part.
Yeah, so. I mean, like at the time, because I had no internet, so even finding the channels when it was on was a mission and a half. I think I went to my grandmother's house one day, and she lives in New Jersey, so Fox Kids was actually on Fox at the time. So I ended up tuning onto the channel and seeing actual Power Rangers on it. I think at that point it was like mid-turbo too. So I was like, oh my god, like I didn't know what this Fox Kids was. I didn't know Power Rangers was on here. And then I go back home, and then I try to turn on Fox there, and it's like, oh, it's news. And the amount of upsetness I had, and I didn't know at the time because just like the information wasn't really that available to me at the time, and it wasn't until like college age when I started to get to know more things, and then I started exploring more and checking out more stuff. So it was a lot of fun by then. So, but still, yeah. I mean, Power Rangers was always like a part of me, and sort of like it almost, you can see the lines of my interest over the years, like just having these giant robot fights, and my fascination of like robot anime is sort of like where you can see the seeds planted from early on. The flashy over the top characters is stuff that I actually really enjoy from wrestling nowadays.
Right.
It's sort it's so like there's an origin point in one somewhere with Power Rangers, and it all began looking up on some crazy channel at one point or another. But yeah, it's always stuck with me, and it probably will always be with me, unfortunately, until the day I die. But yeah, even
I wouldn't say fortunately, but sure, yeah,
sure. I'm sure I'm gonna eventually teach my kids about this stuff one day. But yeah,
it's just called good parenting.
Yeah, yeah, clearly.
Come on now.
They gotta know who the heroes are.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, thinking about Bokenger, I think that might have been around the time that, so Kabuto was around my time too, but I think I was looking up like, YouTube or whatever it was has like some of the transformation, like the henshin sequences up, and I think it was Bokenger where the red catches an enemy's weapon with his morpher and then transforms as he pushes them away with it, and that made me go like, whoa, like this is this is some cool stuff.
The Excellular, which is their transformation device, it's probably my favorite one. It's goofy because it was like during the age of, at least the big time when they were focusing on cell phones at one point or another. Cell phones were the thing. I guess not so much now, but still, we're on guns now, which is great. I guess that's an evolution.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has that little, like, the wheel at the bottom end of it. I've seen clips of, maybe I think it might have been Blue, who was running to face some monsters, and there's like a railing right next to him, and he uses the railing to turn the wheel at the bottom of the phone so he can transform. it's stuff like that is just so silly and creative, and still help me. They end up adapting that series into Power Rangers, and it's probably the worst version of Power Rangers I've ever seen.
Really? Uh-oh.
It's not good.
Okay.
They did, at least they do the part where they flip the red is I don't know how to describe this, but the phone spins in his hands. At least he does that practically, which looks really cool. But other than that, you have some very dodgy accents.
But how have you been enjoying Lupin Ranger versus Power Ranger so far?
I've been liking it. This is the first Sentai I've been somewhat caught up with. I've been dipping in and out at times. It's just unfortunately the way my interest and my busyness, all podcasts and all, I haven't had a chance to actually be caught up with every series. I try to watch as much as I can at a time, but at least Super Ranger is keeping my interest. I've been enjoying it so far. I never thought. I think the dynamic was so. The premise is so different, with just two competing Sentai teams, and they're very antagonistic towards each other, and how that dynamic would work as a long-running series. I've seen those Sentai versus Sentai specials. Those are fun for like the last end part of it after they're busy. Like, we don't like you for some reason, and we're gonna fight each other. Oh wait, there's a bigger bad. We should fight that guy instead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, basically the standard setup. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
but and like imagining that as a full-length TV show, I was like, I hope this could work.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's been keeping that conflict up. So I've been appreciative of that, certainly.
Yeah, so far so good. I can't complain too much. I think there's like small little weird things that stuff like Goody. I just like I don't know how to feel about this thing and how it's just. I just feel like going over here today and just like, I guess this is a weird way to make people have robots more often than the other person. I don't know. I don't know where to put it right now, but I'm at least happy with the show right now. I'm not like turned off by the whole thing, at least.
Well, good.
That's good.
All right. So, Pat, do you have any predictions or anything, or do we want to get into that before we watch the episode?
I don't think I have anything right now.
Yeah, nothing really got slated from last week because once again, got my wishes granted. I guess I'm gonna keep pushing for the double fusion attack. I will get it eventually.
One of these days.
You?
I don't know. We got the green. I guess I would. I mean, my gut tells me we're gonna get a Lupin Blue episode. Just it feels like we haven't really focused on him in a while. But yeah, I don't really know. I still want to see the villain motivation. I want to know, other than just general mafia bad guyness, I kind of want to know what they're about. But who knows what we'll get.
Oh, and that's right. I think we're about due. They hinted at the gangler that was going around freezing people 2 episodes ago.
Yeah,
which I thought they were going to follow up on. So maybe this will be the one. I guess we'll see.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're ready to watch that episode.
I guess so.
All right.
Let's do it.
この番組は楽しい時を作るグループ PRT とザ・コミックフィンドとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
And we're back. Another good one this week. I guess I didn't. Didn't grant any wishes this time. I feel
a
like
mini wish for me. You know, I'm always pushing for more hard suit with the Lupin Kaiser, and we got a fair amount of it this week. So that a little mini wish. That's like an always wish for me.
Constance. Well, we got to follow up on the thread from last week where Tsukasa Pato Pink noticed that something was weird about the people at the people that worked at the cafe. She brings it up to the global police. They basically begin their investigation, but kind of flub it. Good Striker gives Lupin Red the heads up that they're on your trail and they totally know what you're up to. And so we don't get like a new monster this week, really, but they kind of get a way to wiggle out of being suspected in using the duplicate ability from Good Striker and a little bit of Master of Disguise work from Kogure, as well as maybe just a little bit of a hint on the left hand gauche. She has some kind of analysis or analyze ability that gives her an upper hand over them. And then a lot of Jim Carter, which I didn't necessarily want, but we got it. So yeah, not sure where this is going to go next week, but that's where we're at.
Let's double up on Jim Carter. Let's do that.
Yeah.
You heard them, Toei. They want more
please,
Jim.
Doc, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. No, so guys, how are we feeling about this episode coming out? Episode 8.
I'm okay with it. I think it's a very much a, and I hate using this term, but filler. I think at one point I did like that they were actually starting to suspect the actual Lupin Rangers at the beginning. I was hoping that they would do this a little bit later though, but I guess they wanted to give you the false sense of security at the beginning now. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully with the suspicions being thrown off, I would wonder how they're going to get about to actually figuring out who these guys are, if they ever will.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This feels filler. It definitely feels very functional. It's very much like okay, well, we need to throw the cops off the scent for a few more episodes. So this episode performs that function. So it's maybe not quite the same emotional or plot beats. It's definitely like we need to sort of put up the smokescreen and keep this going a little longer because they've gotten kind of close. So
yeah, and like I said, I don't like using that term really ever because it's not really like it's serving a purpose in the sense of like you are getting a little bit of like, hey, what would happen if this situation were to be like, and it being Pink, the one that's actually leading the charge of like knowing possibly just based on a hunch, more or less, because he just like they have they're shaped very much like the Lupin Rangers. They might be them.
These people are thief-shaped.
It's also a nice sort of nod to the fact that like she's just a really good detective, and if it weren't for their like over-the-top tricks and tools at their disposal, she would have already figured them out. Like she did figure them out.
Yeah, I think that I think that's probably my favorite part of it. It's sort of I really like that she's the one that is probably the more competent of the three. At least the one that at least is a little bit more headstrong in the sense of like Red doesn't have like that whole like I'm gonna get you guys mentality because he's just like he's very much like he's just after the guys and doesn't really think about his surroundings, while she's sort of gets to see a little bit more. Unless Green is a secret genius, then we don't know about it yet. I want that to happen one day, but that's my crazy prediction for the future. He's the one that discovers the Lupin Rangers. Bold prediction right now. Boom, done. But
yeah, I look forward to Tsukasa being vindicated in the future. But I think seeing what other kind of tools they have at their disposal, and then the Lupin Rangers really becoming the Lupin Rangers.
Yeah.
With Kogure's quick change there. That was... Mm-hmm. And then masks on masks when...
That's great.
I think that's one of my favorite gags anytime is when somebody's wearing a mask over their mask. But Lupin Red using the duplicate ability, but then also dressing up the duplicates like yellow and blue. Just it's just fun.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed that little nod there. And I think as much as we've talked about Jim Carter being sort of horrifying, Doc's revelation that the voice actress for Jim Carter is the same as Kagura from Gintama completely alters my metrics on that character, and now I completely love him. So him, her, them, robot, whatever. So yeah, that I'm actually okay with it overall, just because now I'm like, oh, that's Kagura, of course. Like, so yeah.
Kugumi Rie has pretty good range in her, at least in the different roles that she usually is in. I mean, between this,
it's obviously just me being bad at this because like I'm notoriously bad at like identifying Seiyu and stuff like that. So once you say it, I'm like, yes, now I can unhear it. But I could have watched 1,000 of these and probably not put 2 and 2 together on that. So
yeah, it happens every once in a while where I do like to hear a lot of voice actors show up on these series, especially when they're like suited monsters and what have you. So it's nice to see every once in a while.
Gratefully, I'm on the other side of things, so I can continue to despise this robot.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
No preconceptions or feelings otherwise. Just continue to be horrified by the robot hands that fold out, and well, and also feel bad for the suit actor that has to sit there like with the arms folded up, like at most times. Like that's I can't imagine the cramps. Like, ugh. Highlight with the Polderman. I really enjoyed the goofy Polderman this time around.
Oh yeah.
In lieu of the weekly kaiju, they just blew up some. Ghost just blew up some Polderman, and we got a lot of how do you describe that?
Hijinks.
Yeah.
The shenanigans.
Oh, shenanigans.
Yeah. Them doing the whole Calvary battle thing was probably the highlight of that episode.
Yeah. And then Lupin Kaiser just slapping the spear out of its hand. Like, it wasn't even it wasn't a real fight at that point. Just get out of here with this. What are you doing? What is that? Like, just...
Yeah, it was really that, like, to me, I think that the way they gathered around and started their plan and like agreed to it and came out kind of all gung-ho, just, that's how you can take what are essentially completely generic, mook villains and give them so much personality. Because I know I'm not super familiar with some of the more recent Sentai series, since I've been going back through Kamen Rider and such, but I know having the mooks grow large, I know they at least did that in Kyoryuger, right? I don't know if they've done it since then, but...
they've done it a couple times in the last few. I again, I've been away from a few Sentai series in a while, but I know they've been doing the occasional mook just be giant for whatever reason. Not often to this degree, where it's just like maybe like a powered mook.
Like I know in Kyoryuger they would like sort of like either just be big, or they could like form these sort of weird, like kind of pale, pasty white, like dinosaur things. So they were sort of like generic kaijin, if you will. But having these guys sort of like have a little plan and go for it and still lose, like, just really, like, I mean, the villain doesn't have a chance. So to watch these guys like work really hard on the plane that really doesn't have a chance, it was really charming. That was a real highlight for me.
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad that they ended up getting blown into bits, but just a little bit.
Yeah, I think if anything, the comedy makes up for the fact of the fight being, I guess, somewhat one-sided.
Mm-hmm. I got a little bit excited at first because I was like, "Oh man, there's like a bunch of them that got blown up or got made larger." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, is this? Are we already gonna get 2 mecha right now?" But no. That's way too soon.
I feel like that would be a waste against these guys.
Yeah, just a little bit, but yeah, definitely. That's just me getting too excited. Yeah.
I also have to really give it to the fight sequence that happened in the underground Gangler base. With all the sort of cement pillars.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned this last week with the episode where we had Tom on and they fought in the forest, and how I felt like the incorporation of the trees really kind of set the tone, because a lot of times in Sentai in particular, the setting is just sort of a backdrop. It's just to look different while they do the same moves, but they really, really worked in the pillars and that sort of breaking up of the fight so that Red could, Lupin Red could take on Gauche and could take on all those Poldermans, and they were bouncing around, and there were lots of like close range shots with exploding impacts that was very, Ghost in the Shell, Matrix style, like these close bullet impacts throwing stuff everywhere, and it was really, really effective. It was a really dynamic fight.
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things that I've seen, especially in this series, is just them taking risks in how they shoot fight scenes has been really fun. I mean, GoPro aside, I enjoy it, to be fair, but I like that but even the fact that they make sure to have even who's fighting be shot differently. Like the GoPro is mainly on Lupin Rangers, stuff like that. And like you have things like when the Pat Rangers robot is fighting, there are like things like overhead shots that usually don't. I was actually surprised to actually see it in some episodes, but yeah, it's I like how they try to differentiate between who's fighting just based on camera work alone. So the camera is also another character in the fights, and so yeah, this show. I'm not really. I have gripes with it, but I think what it does is keep me entertained throughout the rest of it, throughout the entire episode. So I'm at least happy with that.
Yeah, I think the greatest crime a Toku series can commit is like letting you be bored or making you like look at sort of like how much time's left in this episode. And I definitely have not felt that with this series so far. Like, You don't want to go, how much time is left in this? You want to go like, oh, please not, don't end the episode yet. No. That's the feeling that's a feeling I have with Build every week. Like, no, like, so,
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of between. I'm not at that extent with this yet. It could happen, but I definitely, I'm not watching the clock
Right.
while we're watching these.
This
That's good.
This year's Superhero Time has been doing some crazy creative stuff with their camera work, and both on this and in Build. Like, Build has been, it's almost scary how good it's been on a weekly basis.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I'm waiting for the other shit to drop. Like, it's going to turn bad one day. I know it is, but it hasn't
and I
so
think
far.
It's a real great sort of send off to the Heisei era. Like, if these are going to be your last shows, they're taking big risks and they're paying off, and like that's
actually that's a mentality I never thought about. I forgot that the era is going to be ending.
It's weird, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's really paying off, and I hope. Like, I mean, I know to some degree when you're making, I mean, Toei alone is making, 2 or 3 shows a year, just Toku, you're making 50 episode shows, you can't innovate all the time, but I hope the response is such that they are willing to, all it takes is, because this could just as easily have been a 6 Ranger series. But just by making it 2 teams of 3, it feels so fundamentally different. Yeah. And I hope and that's all it takes. Just that little extra element to make the same thing feel fresh and new. And I just hope that they carry that forward.
You're turning me around on this, Grant, now. Like, now I'm thinking, like, never mind. This isn't Phil anymore. This is the best episode ever.
I will say that it could be, I almost never want to use the word filler as much as I can, but I would say padding is
padding. Yeah, I think that's
they're padding a little bit.
There is a little bit of padding. I think it's just like they do good jobs at creating moments of questioning or getting to know certain characters, little moments of just to get to know Ghosh and everyone else. I think it's good in the way it's building. Yeah, it's centered around Jim Carter. Like, it's not exactly the thing I was like waiting for. But the moments that they use, they managed to make it work. So I can't complain. Not really. Like, I feel like I went from one end to the other. I've swung the other way already. So I'm no longer going to be. I'm going to trust this show with my life. I'm sure of it.
It just might steal your heart.
It might steal my heart one day. Yeah, they'll throw a card at me, and then they'll tell me that they're stealing my thing right now. It's just like, but you just got here. Aren't you supposed to give me time? No, sorry.
I also, I do have to give as someone who enjoys puns and bad humor, them taking time out of the runtime to have, the bit with actually solving Jim Carter's riddle at the end, and Hilltop very comically sort of showing, and they're all like setting it up, or the fact where, or the part where, not Kairi, Keiichiro, Pat Ranger Red is, he's very obviously like watching Kairi in his, in his Zenigata detective outfit, like leaning out in the street, watching him, like not even attempting to be subtle, like just little things like that are just like, you guys are having fun. You're having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can't forget the stand-in Metro or Global Police. Getting dunked on by Jim Carter, taking out his rage. Like,
yes, I appreciate it. I think at one point when Jim Carter gave the riddle to the Lupin Rangers at the time, and they were confused. And one of the fake police guys were just like, "What?" he reacted to like, "Really, you're gonna actually do this?"
Oh yeah, just a treat.
The plot didn't really move, but it served a function and was a lot of fun, and so I'm overall very positive on it. I think probably the standout effect was when Lupin Kaiser shot that buzzsaw, and we got that. I mean, it was very similar camera work to what we got last week when they fired a buzzsaw that was like kind of more horizontal. This was a little more like vertical, like a wheel, but it was still, I like this sort of like camera chasing it and like dodging left and right behind it as it goes up through them. I think it's a good effect.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we didn't like or didn't care for?
I'm not gonna say Jim, but I don't think there's anything outright that I was just upset about. I don't know. I've always been like lukewarm on Goody for like the longest, but it's even Goody inside of this dude's shirt, and it's just like
Oh yeah.
How did no one even notice the fact that this guy actually had this? It's this giant plain thing in front of this dude's shirt. Like, he's not exactly that chubby, so he can't really hide it and claim it's fat or something. But it's it's like small little things, but that's for comedy's sake, and it's not a big deal. But
It was a nice little piece of slapstick there, I think.
yeah,
It's interesting to go from last week where we had the Lupin Rangers just be like, ugh, we don't even want to deal with you, good striker, and then this week just kind of, yeah, sure, why not? Like, they're sort of mercurial with him.
Well, he kind of, he stepped in to make sure they didn't get caught, for one, and then two, helped with the off-screen duplicate. So I think maybe they were a little more invested or ready to rock with him rather than kind of exhausted.
I feel like there's something about Kogure that is not being said. They've been hinting at this several times, and it's been bugging me ever since the first episode. I don't know. I've always had like I don't know. Maybe it's just like a weird intuition or something. I was like, I don't know, something's up with this guy. I think he's never interacted with the Pat Rangers before, not like physically. So I was talking to my friends one day. I was like, it'd be great if like they show up in the Pat Rangers office, and like you just like as the episode ends, you see Kogure's face is on a wanted poster as it's passing by credits. There you go. That's the end. But I don't know if I would go that far. But I wonder if there's more that there's some stuff that he's not saying is what's bugging me. It might be revealed in the future, but we'll see.
Definitely. Do we have any predictions for next time or hopes for next time?
I think we're due for an update on that ice gangler.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, either a little bit of that is I think a safe bet, or I guess more on Kogure.
Yeah, I don't know if any of the characters need any, I guess, focus episodes right now. Not at the moment, at least. I feel like everyone's sort of had their time, so I guess I don't think I have anything per se. Are they going to do another pun? Is that going to be the next? Is it going to be a weekly thing? I wonder.
Yeah, that's true. I continue to want my motivation for the Ganglers, but honestly, I didn't expect what we got this week, so I'm good with being surprised. All right, guys, do we want to go ahead and get to those Twitter questions?
Sure.
That's right. It's time for Senpai Noticed You.
That's the sound effect. That's the noticing noise. That's what happens when someone notices you. That noise comes out. That's exactly what happens. Real life. All right, so the first one comes to us from our good buddy Ballet Bebop. They ask, how much does CGI lessen the experience of Toku for you, if at all, in comparison to practical effects?
That's kind of funny because we were talking about how you had moments that we had that buzzsaw thing, which is like a highlight on this episode. I can't say that CG really bugs me. Not often. I feel like if it kind of goes along with the suspension of disbelief of what I'm watching. It seems silly, but it's like, yeah, sometimes bad CG is the same as you've seen the zipper in the back of a dude's suit. It sometimes it comes with the territory. It doesn't always throw me off, though. I'll just say that. As long as if it's used like appropriately and if it's not overdone, I can be okay with it.
I think for me, when I adore special effects like around the practical effects, like when they wrap it around or if it's like enhancing a moment. I'm a little less excited when they do like a full body CGI, like if we see like a super and then he's flipping through the air but the physics look kind of strange, or like the mocap is whatever. But when the CGI is used, like obviously it's gonna look kind of silly, it's a Sunday morning show, but when it's used in a way like when Ghosh is like pushes through reality to teleport out, that I love that so much. Like when it warps the area around it. We see it with the fire effects. We see it, I think, a little bit with sometimes with wind effects. That's my jam.
Yeah, I got echo Pat sentiments there. I'm really okay with I guess I'm most at peace with CG used for sort of particle effects, if you will, special attacks, or sort of, I guess CG is, I don't like CG being the car. I like CG being the flame sticker on the side, if you will. As long as the main vehicle is practical effects, like physical sets, physical suits, and then you can make your energy effects look like whatever, I think that's fine. Because even back in the old Showa era stuff, like, they would just, like the energy beams and things like that were very clearly not physical effects, so it's still, they were drawn on the cells or what have you. But I still like seeing like practical explosions and things like that, expensive that they may be. But I just, because of the way practical effects age, I just think it increases the shelf life, and CG just doesn't like, if it's for a fireball, well, it's not that big a deal. But if it's for everything in a shot, like that can be kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
We got to go back to reversing footage of people falling off of rooftops.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I love it.
But no, good question. All right, so this one comes to us from Rufus2K2. In Tokyo shows, a new writer or new team member will appear and can either initially antagonize the protags, reject the team, or immediately be a comrade in arms. Who is your favorite of either camp? So this is for your new team member showing up. What do you prefer their flavor to be? Pat, you want to start us on this one?
Sure. I think my preference is when there's a little bit. I favor Ryder here because it's sort of expected that anybody else that jumps in has like an ego or is like just kind of a D-bag sometimes, and then eventually they soften up. And I kind of favor that a little more than somebody who's friendly right away, because I'm suspicious. I'm like, I don't trust you. You're too friendly. Like, what's your deal? But I definitely favor when they're all in or all invested with the main party or whatever it ends up being. Like, that's whenever they come around to that, and in a meaningful way, ideally, that's my favorite. Like, especially if it's like something that's like painful for them, like they have to give something up to join the team because of circumstance, or like just Chase joining the team and Drive. Sorry.
Spoilers.
I wouldn't say it. Whatever. He's a tertiary rider. When the tertiary rider shows up in Drive, and when he joins, it's like, I mean, it was something like, it was going to happen eventually, probably, but like when it finally does, you're like, yeah, like it's, like,
Yeah.
That's my take.
Well, I guess for me, certainly we all enjoy our Tommy or our Barais jumping in and just kicking everybody in the face and being like, what's up, nerds? But I very much enjoy the flavor of someone like, say, Date from O's, who shows up and is just kind of like chill. Like, he's very just kind of confident, and he's like, I don't understand why you guys are having such problems with this. I'm here for the money. Like, that's an interesting, as opposed to, say, your hot-blooded secondary rider who just shows up and is flipping their hair around and being very dramatic, which is great too. Date is just kind of like cool and calm and collected, whereas like everyone else is just all over the place and doesn't know what's going on. He just is he is the sort of calm character, which is just interesting, bounced off all these other, the Greeds and Ag and so on and so forth. So I guess Date.
I actually, funny enough, when I saw the question, I ended up thinking of something else, and it's almost a different aspect of it, where I remembered Gokaiger and the introduction of Kokai Silver, where his entry was that the fact that like he was a super big Sentai nerd.
Yeah, that's right.
And when he got in the group, the rest of the Gokai just like, nah, dude, we don't want you in our group. I was like, but I'm the Sixth Ranger. It's like it's like no, you're good. Yeah, but I think what was really cool is that he got introduced, and he's like, he has this whole like he has that very Genki sort of attitude about himself, which is so not how the other Gokaijus are like, so it adds to the dynamic of it. But also was really nice, especially with Captain Marvelous, was like he kind of basically told him like, you're not gonna be our comrade, because you got to realize that we're wanted by this evil organization. Are you willing to give up your life to fight against these people? And for him to Gokai Silver to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I'm gonna fight these guys, and we're gonna fight together. And he's like, all right, man. I like your gumption. Here's your morphin. Let's go. Guy. He's so fun, and I think that was the one series where it was really cool, where they flipped it a little, where it's just like, he's not antagonistic. It's just more like the main team is antagonistic to him, and it takes a while for him to being a part of the group, but his introduction really, at least it sparked a lot more interest in my end. Gokaiger on its own was such a fantastic series. So
Yeah, good pick. Yeah.
That's a pretty good take on it, I think.
Okay, so our next question comes to us from Kid Flash BN or DBN. If you created your own Sentai, what would it be? I guess I'll start. I guess I'm next in rotation here. So again, with questions like this, you know, I just wouldn't stop creating. Probably it would depend on exactly when you ask me. But at this moment in this time, I guess I would kind of like to see. I know space, like, of course, my first gut reactions are always like dinosaurs or like rescue vehicles, but we've seen plenty of those. So maybe something, maybe like a full underwater season. Like everything is almost kind of like a Sea Lab type thing, almost, where they're like sort of like not Sea Quest, mind you. We don't want to go quite that far, but Sea Lab, where you have sort of like underwater animals or scientific exploration vehicles, and they could be fighting against like monsters from the deep beneath the crust of the earth or something like that. Like, be kind of a different, because we've had space, but like fully submerged kind of season, all underwater stuff. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Is this because you're going through One Piece right now?
I mean, it's not because of that. I also just like I have a love of...
buddy, there's a show I should tell you about called Gokaiger.
I also just kind of have an affinity for old games like XCOM, Terror from the Deep, and stuff like that. Now, obviously, wouldn't want it to be quite so gritty, but something like that, you know, fighting your sort of like creature from the Black Lagoon and giant krakens and Cthulhu beasts or something. That'd be fun.
Is that Kamen Rider X? Is that right? Starfish Hitler?
I think so, yes.
It's all water-based monsters. It's not really underwater, maybe. To quickly, sorry to jump in here a little early. I don't know if CGI. To go back to the CGI question briefly, sky fights I can work with, but underwater fights have been the most painful for me in terms of CGI. Like whenever they do an underwater fight, I'm like, please, give me let's be done with this sooner rather than later, please. Especially like I think the ones that stick out to me most are probably the ones from O's. Like it didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Weren't my favorite parts in O's, I think. But. Maybe that's me.
It was a shame because I actually like the Shouta?
Yeah, the form looks great.
Yeah,
for sure. But that just meant that we're gonna go underwater for a little bit during this part, guys. So. I said something earlier, well, like right at the top of the show that I was gonna use for this, but it's gone.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I was like, oh, that's something we can go to later, but I'm still going to go with, I think we had something similar to this, but a cooking themed Sentai would be really fun to me. Like different styles of cooking or, you know, giant kitchen weapons. That's just fun.
Oh, yes.
Like, to me, I enjoy, what is it? Gourmet, some kind of gourmet Sentai chef ranger or whatever.
Patisserie ranger.
Yeah. See? You're feeling it.
Yeah. I feel like my hope was almost this season was almost the one I wanted, where it was the Phantom Thieves, but it was like the detective aspect. That would have been the sense I wanted to see. Kind of like a sort of a hard boiled, similar to like the Kamen Rider Double or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like these guys are trying to fight, are going against these phantom thieves, or in this case would probably be the monsters. I don't know if they would probably do the Ranger thing, but I just like, because being a Detective Conan fan, I always thought that would be kind of a cool thing if they were to actually do like a Ranger about detectives. But I don't think they've done it. Not really. They've done police a bunch of times, but they've never actually done like full on. We have to with the big magnifying glass. I don't know. You can spin the magnifying glass and it transforms you into a Ranger. I don't know how they would do that, but I'm trying to look at things how you could make that work. But yeah, it's goofy things like that made me think. You have to pull on the I forget the name of the hat that Sherlock Holmes wears, but yeah, that thing. It would probably be incorporated somewhat close to the helmets and stuff like that. So I have a design duck already set up. No one can see it. It's all mine. TM. Original character, don't steal.
All right. So, we got another one here from Ajax Ranger, our buddy Alex. They ask, what are your thoughts on current Sentai/Rider being used as a platform to help relaunch other Toei heroes, Gavan, Kikaider, Inazuman, etc., and do you have any favorite episodes/movies featuring them?
Ooh. I am always 100% for introducing these series, other older series especially. I mean, a lot of the Meta Hero stuff, which I never really got into, per se. That was always something I want to get into at one point or another. I think it's just the follow-through is the thing that I worry about, because I mentioned Gokaiger, and they had a crossover sort of thing with Gavin, which is really cool. I actually really like that movie, and it actually got me very interested in wanting to check out Gavin. But I just never got around to it. But it at least it sparked that thing in me. It was just like, this is like it was the most pure-hearted, like, love letter to the series in many ways. Where it's just like, you have Marvelous, who was like, he looked up to Gavin as a hero, and sort of, I think if anything, it was worth it for the actor to show up, Kenji Oba, to show up in his other Sentai characters that he also portrayed at one point or another. And along with himself as Gavin, where it's just like really bad green screen of him in, I think it was Gokai Silver, is like, wow, all of you guys are here together, this is amazing, and everyone else is there. It's like, don't you notice that they all look the same for some reason, because they're all played by the same actor? I think, what was it? It was Denji Man. He was Denji Blue, and oh geez, I'm gonna die if I forget this already. Kenya. Battle Kenya. Right. Yes, Battle Kenya. Wow, Battle Fever J. Yes. Goodness gracious, I had to reach in my head, but yeah, it was a kind of a cool moment there. But I would like it if they do it, but every time they try to incorporate Gavin, it always seems so tacked on. I don't know.
So I have an interesting response to this, because I was recently on another pod where I got to watch the first episode of Space Sheriff Gavan, so I am now aware of the power of Space Sheriff Gavan. I mean, I certainly enjoy Metal Heroes before I had watched anything, just because they're made of metal, and then, and that's great. But
they're heroes.
But Space Sheriff Gavan, those 22 minutes, I'm telling you, I saw some things. I lived a lifetime in those 22 minutes, and I definitely want to see. Honestly, I don't know. Just based off that one episode, I don't know if you pair Gavan with anybody. Like, I don't mind them trying to use those other series and things to relaunch the older heroes. I just don't even know if you. I don't know if you can pair Gavan with other characters and have it, like, unless you either speed them up or you just let Gavan do his own thing, because that. Wow, things happen so quickly. There's so much. You just, I think you either have to slow Gavan down, which nobody benefits from that, or you have to speed other characters up. So just, they need to be aware of, I haven't seen the crossovers, but they just need to adjust.
Yeah, they were a little slower, and I mean, I've only caught a few episodes of Gavin at the time, but it's just like. And that's a very different show, yeah, too. But so like to putting him into a Sentai series, this is like, this feels weird, but I mean, I enjoyed it still. But I never got to watch the whole thing. But yeah, it's different, to say that.
I like the effort, or at least the making an attempt. But yeah, as far as I know, I don't. I haven't really made the effort to go out and venture into the series, the revival attempts. But I guess the closest thing I could have made an effort, or have really made an effort for, might have been Kikaider, which happened, I think, during Drive.
Gaim?
Oh, was it Gaim?
I think it was.
It was either Gaim or Drive.
It might have been Gaim.
Might have been Gaim. Okay. Then, yeah, like, it was just kind of a weird thing that was going on that it definitely felt tacked on. I would wish it success, because I think Kikaider is really cool, and I think Huckhider is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. So to get some kind of modern adaptation with Huckhider in it, I think that would be a success, but I don't know that that's happened. I wasn't, like I said, I didn't really track or delve deep into what was going on with Kikaider at the time, but I have an appreciation for it, I guess.
All right, well, boys, that was the last question. So, Doc, thanks so much for being on. You want to go ahead and plug some of your other projects and things that you got going on, like the Patreon links and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, hopefully by the time I get this, at least this episode comes out, I hope to have episode 130 of the Ass Backwards Anime Podcast out. I think I promised to have that out by then. So you can check that out over at ssaapodcast.com. I know I mentioned the Patreon link. You can also go to ssaanetwork.com, which actually direct you to our Patreon page. All the shows that I am a part of, will be posted up on there. As far as any other major projects I'm going to be working on, I think the project I'm mainly focusing on is this Jumping Through 2017, which is a way for me to go through my Shonen Jump backlog. So I have a bunch of series I'm reading all the way back from 2017 that I never got a chance to read from the Visit Shonen Jump. So I'm reading through everything. So month chunks, if you will. So that's like 4 or 5 issues at most. So in a lot of series. So yeah, that's exclusively on Patreon. So you can go check that out. $3 to listen to the whole thing. It's going to be like 12 episodes in total, maybe more. We'll see. But yeah, that's mainly it. JessicaTomapodcast.com, which is also there, and onepodcastprevails.com as well. That's the Detective Conan podcast that I'm part of. And that's it. Yeah, that's all the major stuff right now.
All right, well, awesome. Well, again, thanks for also being part of the Sleep Payton Boys hashtag and being super busy and prolific. But I love all your stuff, and it was great to have you on. So, and Pat, thanks also for being on with me again, my partner in crime, my buddy.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the people that sent in questions. You're obviously now, if you've sent in questions this month for this episode, you're entered in April. So be tuned in a couple of weeks when we announce the next winner.
Thanks for tuning in to the Super Senpai Podcast. We'll notice you again next time.
Super Senpai Podcast.